This is National Geographic, on assignment, and I'm Boyd Matson. There's a group of people in New Guinea who believe that their ancestors were trees that a god transformed into human beings. In the land of the Asmat, many days upriver from the nearest road, the idea of money is brand new, but it's catching on quickly. Over several months, Jennifer Heil made the journey to the tree of good and evil to find out how money is driving the Asmat to kill their ancestral legacy.
Not so long ago, if this many Asmat men jumped in their canoes, they were launching a headhunting raid. The Asmat were fierce cannibals into the 1960s. They abandoned that after missionaries showed up, but they've held tight to much of their ancient culture. This place is known for its outlandish ceremonies, like this one to discourage thieves. And in this remote area, the Asmat's deepest concern is losing their land to outsiders.
Tidak makan sampai sekarang saya dapat ini. Ini yang kami minta supaya bapak-bapak datang lihat kita. Kami memang minta itu.
These are the largest rainforests in Southeast Asia. It's a very tough place to live. Yet 70,000 indigenous Asmat thrive here, scattered among 120 villages, at least a week's journey from the nearest road. They believe an ancient god carved their ancestors out of these trees, then played a drum to give them a heartbeat. Ernes Ndicim grew up here, and those beliefs shape his life.
Tanah ini dimiliki sejak dari leluhur. Allah berikan kepada leluhur, lalu kepada kita dan turun-temurun. Makanya ini milik kami. Seluruh tanah dan segala potensi yang ada di tanah ini adalah milik kami orang Asmat.
A prop plane recently started flying into this remote area. It's my ticket into the back of beyond. I'm here because the outside world, which is running out of its own resources, is turning to remote corners, like New Guinea, for lumber and minerals. Indonesia recently divided this area into 3 new provinces to speed development. International companies are already asking for permission to explore. New Guinea is a far cry from the suburbs of Southern California where I grew up. Friends and relatives tell me I have an irrational habit of traveling alone in isolated places. That scares them, but there's nothing I'd rather do than explore a rainforest with the people who consider it sacred. I've dreamed of roaming around New Guinea making a film like this since I was a kid. One of the first people I connect with is Wiro Birif, one of the leaders in this community.
Kehidupan dalam arti bisa ambil ikan dari laut, bisa ambil hasil hutan. Alam juga dianggap sebagai tempat bersemayamnya para leluhur atau moyang-moyang.
Wood carving is still sacred here. Without a written history, art provides a crucial link to the past. And now, on this day, in this place, I'm witnessing firsthand a quantum leap into the future.
Hak dasar orang Asmat itu seperti hak memiliki, hak untuk melindungi, dan hak untuk melestarikan hutan, tempat tinggal kami.
As of now, the Asmat have no legal title to their land. The Indonesian government owns everything, but it's promised to give back some control if the Asmat prove traditional claims to the forest. Ernest went to a university in Papua's capital. Missionaries picked up the tab. He came home because he learned the outside world has a habit of turning forests like this one into paper napkins and office shelves, a death sentence to indigenous cultures. That's exactly what this mapping project is fighting to prevent. Indonesian maps don't bother with rivers this tiny, but to the Asmat, they're crucial for dividing land between families. So Ernest is making his own map with the benefit of ultra-modern GPS. It's the very first time this knowledge has been documented.
This is the Asmat's heirloom. Basically, it's passed on down through their ancestors, and we hope through recognition, land right recognition, they will look after it.
Nev Kemp is from the Indo-Pacific Conservation Alliance, or IPCA. He's here to provide equipment and training.
We believe that to have sustainable conservation, that the Asmat have to secure their rights over their land.
Jadi kalau setelah pemetaan ini selesai, ya baik pemerintah lokal, regional, nasional maupun internasional harus mengakui tanah adat kami dan harus mengakui peta yang kami buat.
Ernest takes Nev and me to a river that's sacred to the Asmat. They believe a great flood filled it with the spirits of their ancestors.
Dan sampai hari ini mereka masih ada, dan tanah ini, kolam ini termasuk seluruh wilayah ini disebut tanah sejarah, tanah keramat.
They believe fishing here or cutting down trees would bring disaster. After Ernest marks the coordinates, we head for the village of Manup. When we get there, we file into a long one-story house called the Jeyu. It's the heart of every Asmat village, the center of the community. The men lay out the maps and announce the borders of each family's land. Consensus is crucial. Ultimately, Nev will help the Asmat transfer this knowledge onto digital maps. At heart, this is still a very traditional society, mostly run by men. Women are left out of official leadership positions.
It's wrong to look at the Asmats and think everything is wonderful. It isn't. As Jenny says, women don't have the same equality they've gained in the West. But on just one day every year, the women get to have it their way.
Traveling in places this isolated means trading comfort for beauty. Despite being constantly muddy, sweaty, and totally out of my element, I wake up every day impatient to see what it holds. The Asmat build their villages on stilts to deal with the heavy rains that sweep through here. Without roads, water's the only way to get around. With no domestic animals, they rely on fish for protein. There's no electricity here, and without television or radio, the kids create their own entertainment. Once they get over the shock of my arrival, people are welcoming and generous. Families are tight, and people believe those bonds last even after death. For the last few days, I've been living in the village of Asatat. I'm wondering what the women think of me, traveling on my own. I have a level of freedom they'll never know, but I'm about to discover these women aren't always in the background. Criticize a woman's cooking? Call her lazy? Today is payback day. This is the one time when women can smack men and get away with it. There's no blood, only laughter. Still, I can hardly believe my eyes. Wish my culture had something like this. She's got bait. food in one hand, a stick in the other. The Jehu house is a safe base because women can't go in. I notice some of the men aren't taking any chances. The ritual's meant to release tensions, and it's clearly done in a spirit of fun. But Karola Biaki, who started the first ever women's group here, says women do have some serious concerns.
Mereka itu merasa susah dan termasuk saya perempuan Asmat yang mengalami yang bukan saya tapi ya mama, tante-tante, saudara-saudari saya yang lebih dari itu.
Women want a greater role in this male-dominated society. That's still a radical idea here. But Karola's exposure to a handful of missionaries and Western travelers confirmed what she already knew.
Seorang laki-laki saja, tetapi kami perempuan pun juga diciptakan sehingga hal apa saja itu perempuan juga bisa menduduki. Nah, seperti di tempat lain, dan kami juga di sini ingin seperti itu.
For now, women have to make do with a few well-aimed whacks. It's time to take sides for a ritual battle. The women march forward ready for action, then all hell breaks loose. Now it's the men's turn. Taunting, teasing, they're asking for trouble. A year's worth of pent-up resentment is let out through laughter. By the end of the afternoon, everyone's worn out, and it's back to the quiet routine. Here, that means finding food. Having enough to get by is never far from the minds of these villagers. Whenever I ask about the secret to thriving here, they always point up this river. So I'm off to explore the thorny, colossal swamp the Asmat call a garden. Swampy rainforest doesn't usually support this many people. The soil's not exactly ideal for agriculture. That's why the sago palm is so vital.
Sagu penting untuk masyarakat Asmat bisa tetap hidup karena merupakan makanan pokok.
An offering of sweat-stained leaves shows respect for the tree. Then they hack the thing to pieces. These trees aren't planted or tended in any way. The Asmat live in the largest wild sago forests in the world. A family can spend just 3 days harvesting one tree and have enough food for a month. Once the men hack off the bark, the women soften the starchy pulp inside. These are the larvae of the Capricorn beetle. They're the Asmat equivalent of a hot dog. The worms are smoked and kept to be snacked on later. In a sluice made from the shell of the tree, women wring out the starch from the pulp. I'm invited to help, but judging by their laughter, I guess I'm mostly providing comic relief. They tease me that probably I could find a husband here. Then I hand it back to the experts.
Okay, sudah.
When the sluice is full, they pull the plug, leaving a gummy white flour. Pure carbs. The Asmat call the sago the tree of life. But this forest is also full of darker spirits.
It seems as if every society around the world believes that powerful forces, religious or otherwise, protect that society or destroy it. In New Guinea, you have to look for the tree of good and evil.
The Asmat hacked out their place in this forest by hand. Until recently, money wasn't part of the motivation. That's changing. The outside world is getting interested in the natural resources here. People worry that outsiders will profit from the destruction of this world, while the Asmat are left with little to show for the loss.
Saya punya mai tua, saya punya anak menangis nasi, menangis makan. Dia bilang saya begitu. Saya bilang dia, mungkin orang, padahal tidak ada. Dia injak saya begini. Saya tidak keluar.
Today, we're searching for the sacred Gaharu tree. It holds mystical power in this society.
Sehingga bisa juga mengadakan kontak dengan roh-roh yang ada di langit. Sehingga kita orang Simai khusus.
Our search continues on foot. The Asmat build an altar and leave offerings to their ancestors.
Jangan sampai Tuan tanah di sini kasih apa-apa sama kita kah? Maksud jahat sama kita kah? Begitu.
The Gaharu they're looking for is a black resin that only grows inside certain trees. The chief tells me this is one of them, but we won't know if there's Gaharu until it's chopped down. They make a bracelet of leaves for good luck. The resin is sacred because the Asmat burn it to connect with their ancestors. The outside world now wants it to make expensive incense. This stuff's worth a fortune in the Middle East and Asia. When outside traders first came a few years ago looking for Gaharu, people saw it as a chance to make easy money. The gold rush mentality caused chaos.
Ini Gaharu bagus.
Many Asmat, like Ernest, believe the problems that have cropped up since are a curse for exploiting a sacred tree with magical properties.
Masyarakat punya hidup ini berubah. Dari nilai adat itu yang sebenarnya harus dipertahankan sangat berubah. Rumah adat tidak diperhatikan. Rumah adat hancur. Dusun-dusun hancur yang sebenarnya dusun itu merupakan leluhur yang harus kita jaga.
Gaharu traders brought in alcohol and prostitution.
Ada juga waktu itu belum kenal dengan penyakit HIV. Dengan adanya hubungan seks tanpa tahu tuh akibat, sebab dan akibat, maka banyak orang mati, ada yang kurus begitu saja mati.
The village of Manip is pretty well deserted. Ernest says people abandoned it to search for Gaharu. In the village longhouse, the fireplaces the Asmat call the lungs of their community are cold. Asnar Arsat came to Manip to be a middleman in the Gaharu trade. Local people collected for him, then he sends it down the river.
Artinya untuk saat ini tidak seperti dulu. Istilahnya dulu itu orang mencari kepala masih ke atas.
The stacks here are worth thousands of dollars abroad. These villagers will see only a tiny fraction. Gaharu is only one of many types of trees worth money here. More development is inevitable. The Asmat question whether it will make their way of life better or destroy it.
Misalnya kalau lingkungan alam yang kita anggap pertama ibu kandung dan yang kedua kita anggap sebagai tempat bersemayam roh-roh nenek moyang.
As they begin navigating this contradiction, my trip is ending. In a place that felt so foreign when I arrived, I now feel surrounded by friends. I'll leave here haunted by the beauty of this place and by the weight of the change that's coming. Indigenous cultures are often destroyed by the modern world instead of benefiting from it. The Asmat are fighting to set a new precedent, to keep their place in these forests that are filled with the spirits of their ancestors.
Explorers are in the business of filling in all of the blank spaces on the world's map. And there are very few of them left. The ones that are mostly in the great rainforest. But while we've answered most of our questions about the planet's geography, what other lessons have we learned from our exploring? Tropical rainforests, like the one in New Guinea that Jennifer Heil has shown us, are frontiers of the unknown. Dark green spots on the map where unusual, isolated cultures survive. And plants, unknown to science, grow along unmarked paths.
Inevitably, that's changing. Getting to a remote corner of New Guinea no longer takes a major expedition. Now one person can get there in just 2 weeks by air and boat. Historically, sudden exposure to the outside world has been a disaster for indigenous people. Think alcoholism, disease, exploitation. Indonesia won't give the Asmat land rights because it's the right thing to do. There's too much money involved, and Indonesia has a less than perfect record on these issues. But around the world, governments and big corporations have learned something from centuries of disaster. The Asmat hope to tap into that increased sensitivity to put pressure on the Indonesian government. The Asmat are inventing a new approach to gain the benefits of the modern world without losing their way of life.